When you talk about how football evolves over time, then you are in particular talking about the how of football. And so how you play, how you attack, how you defend. But coach education should not be so much about the how. Because how you coach and how you play depends, for example, on the players that you have or the circumstances that you work in. So coach education should more be about the what of football. And the what of football is the same for everybody. Yeah, because it doesn't matter whether you are a woman or a man, or an adult or a child, or whether you are an amateur player or a professional player, or whether you are born in Estonia or the Netherlands or somewhere else. You are all playing the same sport. And coach education should be about that, the what of football. Because if you ask coaches all around the world, what is football, then what you would expect is that everybody is going to give you the same answer. But we all know that that is not the case. So we still have a lot of work to do in terms of what football is, the same for everybody. And that is what coach education should be about. And then when people understand what football is, and what, for example, a football action is, then they go back to their club, and then how they do it, that is the responsibility of the coach. And the mistake that you often see in coach education is that they don't educate what football is, and as a result everybody is saying something else. But they coach a lot about how, but that is something you should stay away, because if I tell you how to coach, that would be very arrogant, because I can only tell you how to coach if I would know your players, and I don't. So those are the two biggest mistakes in coach education, and as a result, coach education should not have anything to do with how football evolves. It should be about what football is. So what we have covered in these 2 days is, first of all, the role of coach education, so that coaches understand what coach education means. And I have explained that coach education is about helping coaches to improve their thinking, because your thinking is guiding your coach actions. So the better your thinking, the better your coach actions. But your thinking is based on the information that is stored in your brain. Yeah? And if you have unreliable, incorrect information stored in your brain, that will create incorrect thinking and incorrect coach actions. So I have spent a lot of time explaining that a lot of things that people think in football are incorrect. Yeah, so we have identified flaws in information in football. Because if you want to improve your thinking, then first of all you have to identify the errors, the incorrect information in your brain. And then you have to delete that, and then you have to replace that with better information. And yeah, that caused also a lot of very funny situations in the room, because there are a lot of things that people think is normal, but then after we have discussed it, they think, oh yeah. And the most obvious example is that a lot of coaches are doing exercises without goals. But then you cannot score. But if you do exercises, you want your players to help improve attacking, and you want them to learn to defend better. But if you do exercise without goals, there is nothing to attack and there is nothing to defend. So then you are not passing to score, but you are passing for the sake of passing. So then it doesn't matter in which direction you are passing, as long as you don't lose the ball. But on Saturday in the game, it does matter, because then you want to pass in the direction of the goal. But that is not how you have conditioned the brain of your players. Now, and those are the examples that we discussed and then improved. And yeah, that often also results in very funny situations, of course. Yeah, when you think about, from a philosophical point of view, you think about football in the future, then again, it is going to develop in terms of how people play. For example, because players change or the way of training changes. So at the level of the what, the game is going to stay the same, unless they're going to change the rules, of course. So football is only going to change at the level of the how, yeah, and then the biggest improvement is probably going to be training methods, designing training situations so that you can help players adapt to more difficult football situations. So knowledge about training methodology, that is going to be the biggest improvement in the next 5 or 10 years. So that coaches are not going to use the traditional exercises where players are not playing football, like I just said, but that they more and more are going to use exercises where players are playing football, and then they improve football. And that is going to be the biggest improvement in the next 5 years.